The post-apocalyptic world of Wuthering Waves is an absolute nightmare for normal humans. Living in this world is basically a death sentence. There's a whole lot of ways to die in this world, from sandworms, random black holes, time distortions, tacit discord attacks, motorbike accidents, and even poison, but despite all that, Rover fares well, but you, my friend, are not them. Among the Resonators that we pull for in Wuthering Waves, the ones with insanely powerful Forte abilities are extremely rare. Think about it this way. In the region of Rinascita, maybe 10 to 15 Resonators are strong enough to dominate the battlefield. Everyone else, they go out in squads of 10, kill a few tacit discords, and hope that they make it back alive. In fact, 4 and 5 star Resonators are basically like billionaires in the Solaris 3. In other words, you, my friend, are not catching a glimpse of this power. You'll be likely to be a 1 or 2 star Resonator if you're even lucky enough to develop Forte abilities to begin with, so that's how we'll structure this video. Imagine thinking that you're like Carlotta, rich and powerful. Anyway, this enigma will be covered by yours truly, VoidEnigma. Could you survive as a Resonator in Wuthering Waves? We'll go from the tiny 1-star Resonator all the way up to an immaculate 5-star Resonator and even beyond that. So without further ado, let's get right to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe, as that's the best way to support the channel, and this is gonna be a fun one. There's a ton of Resonators in Wuthering Waves. This girl can create masks from her resonance ability, and this guy can do other minor things. Even though we can only see the powerful Resonators, there are a ton, and I mean a ton, of weaker Resonators with weaker but more useful abilities. Like, why would you want to blow up a supermarket where you can do things like bake cookies? This is where you will be, if you're even lucky enough to be a Resonator anyways. We will be showing the experience of a 1-star Resonator all the way up to a 5-star Resonator and see how you fare in the world of Solaris 3. As you awaken, you've just been bored, and your resonance abilities has just activated. You're infused with fire abilities. Fusion, how exciting. With the snap of a finger, you can create fires from your fingertips. A single small flame, enough to light a cigarette or even burn someone if you expose it to the skin for like 60 seconds or so. So naturally, you pick up smoking to make your resonance ability even worth it, further condemning yourself to an early death, but that's a-okay, because between you and me, you won't be living that long anyways. So in other words, you're a human with a party trick, a very useful party trick, because if you choose to be a survivor in the woods, you know, a very particularly easy job, kind of, you can make a fire. As long as it's not rainy or windy, or not even like a windproof lighter. Even a normal Zippo lighter is windproof, and you couldn't even manage to make that. So in Solaris 3, as a fusion Resonator, what do you do against a small pack of tacit discord wolves? You run. Like hell, like seriously, get the hell out of there. You see, your survival rate actually skyrockets because you just run from literally everything. Maybe you could join the Solaris Olympics and actually just be an escape artist, because you already know you're too weak to challenge actual danger. Your title, Professional Fleer, earns you a daily survival rate of 50%. You survive by reading the environment and knowing when to dip. Use your abilities to get in close with a 5-star Resonator who smokes and earn their protection. You could try to train your body, but it's really an uphill battle for sure, so just, like, don't. Know your place as a convenient lighter for someone way more powerful than you, and you'll be just fine, but you might not even get close to 5-star Resonators because you're kind of weak, so you're kind of like frontline fodder. Just try not to be frontline fodder and just get the hell out of there when danger shows up. As you cash in with your 50% survival rate, you will be the cause of death of many 2 and 3-star Resonators who try to save your ass when you actually get into trouble. Try not to let it get to you. They're in your path of finding a real 5-star Resonator who will protect you. So 1-star Resonators kind of thrive under this system. They're runners, and they know they don't stand a chance. And the most important training that you can get for your resonance abilities is to actually get your flame on 2 fingers instead of 1. They're just as weak as 1 finger, but you double the firepower. You might even be able to light 2 cigarettes at once if you're like, say, someone like Smoker or something like that, you know, from like One Piece. Anyway, you might not be able to actually scare away like dogs or like tacit discords, maybe like some chihuahuas you might have some luck with scaring away if they're actually scared of fire, but even a cat will take you out, so just be very careful, okay? You got this. So a 1-star Resonator is great, but I know in your eyes it kinda seems a little pathetic. But what if you're instead born as a 2-star Resonator with 2 ripples on your Tacit mark? Pretty exciting, right? Well, that lighter has just been upgraded tremendously. You now got fire in your hands, baby. You could probably scorch a chicken alive. That's probably all that you could do, because you don't throw fireballs. You don't have fireballs. You have more like, well, I guess fire baseballs? Yeah. You can now start fires easily, still light up cigarettes with ease, so you may not have to actually pick up the task of smoking cigarettes forever to make yourself useful. And with all of that firepower, what does a 2-star Resonator do when a Tacit Discourse comes at them? Yeah, you're correct. They get cocky. You see, as a fusion Resonator with little fire baseballs in your hand, you have the balls in your palm of your hands to ignite Tacit Discourse. Okay, that came out a little wrong. I tried to correct it. Anyway, with the cocky 2-star Resonator who's finally got a Tacit Discord charging at them, you're trying to prove yourself and get promoted. If it's an elite Tacit Discord, you're probably dead, and you will, like, literally just off dead. Even if you have a lot of training, it's still going to be a really big struggle. If you get like a gun or a rectifier, or you get like perfect coordination with a sword or a broadsword, then you might stand a chance, but it's still probably a bad idea. But I guess it can work if you're like really well gifted in the physical aspects of things. But think of it this way: your little resonance ability or forte is just tickling the enemies now. At least it has some effect, right? If you train for a while, you might be able to actually stand a chance, and by a while I mean like years, 20 plus years training under like someone who actually knows what they're doing. Your main goal as a 2-star Resonator is common echoes. They are easy to pick off with your weapons and a little bit of firepower as support, but your only chance is as a trained human who can do small bits of fire and is mainly proficient with their weapon. That's a rare thing though, so I'd say your survival chances are probably like 20%. So, if you stay in town, never venture out, then you might be okay, but at the rate of Tacit Discords being invaded into towns and just outside of towns, your survival rate yearly is about 20%, meaning you probably won't even hit 25, but trust me, most of you aren't even going to be making it past 2 stars as a Resonator, so just, get comfortable with your life as, fodder. But as harsh a reality as it is, what do you do if you do somehow win the genetic lottery of Resonators? Now, as a 3-star Resonator, you've got power. Perhaps you can create like films or record memories onto films, or perhaps you can even pull salt out of water. Very useful abilities in the world of the Solaris 3. You can be some sort of like merchant, or you can own like an entire film production. There are so many things that you could do as a 3-star Resonator, mainly because your powers actually allow you to do it. If you're lucky enough to actually be able to use your resonance ability to have a complete business behind you, or an occupation that is born from your resonance abilities, meaning you don't have to fight. Of course, this is after the military does their drafting, because they're always going to need Resonators to fight Tacit Discords, but if you do get unlucky and do actually get drafted into whatever military forces in your region or country, you can have powers such as freezing someone with ice, or causing miniature whirlwinds from your palm that grow 2 to 3 feet tall. If you're the same fusion Resonator that we've been, kind of exampling up until now, then you can ignite your whole body in fire and hug things to death in your flames and throw actual fireballs. Volleyball-shaped ones this time. Pretty sick, right? Unfortunately, against Tacit Discord, you're a common ground with them. You're like about even with the elites, and the actual like Overlord and Calamity class echoes will completely annihilate you, so just don't try unless you have like 10 people beside you. So common and most elite echoes, easy. Overlord and challenges like, the actual Fractsidus and people with actual abilities and other 5-star Resonators, you're screwed. Just completely dead. Nonetheless, if you luck out to get a good master like Chang Li or Jian, you can hone your weaponry skills and forte abilities, and you're a small shot. And even if you don't get some cool, powerful resonance abilities, you can at least maybe do stuff like forge clay silverware, pots and pans, and keep things up with your resonance abilities, and like strike it hard at the credits field. I mean, everyone loves a baker. Every single soldier wants to come home to a baker who can just make a whole bunch of stuff with your fire abilities, and maybe a very convenient stove. So your survival rating skyrockets to about 50%, and it can even go as high as like 80% if you decide to, stay an actual local and make a business. So, not a bad life. You just stay to yourself and, fight behind much stronger people than you, and know when to get the frick out of a bad situation. Nice. But let's say you do hit the Resonator jackpot with 4 tacit marks on your tacit mark tattoo. That was weird. Anyway, you're now a 4-star Resonator. You're in the same category of those of like Sanhua, Mortefi, Chisia, but you're also kind of in the same category as, you know, Yunwu, Yohu, Baiju. Either way, you are capable of amassing great power, and while you hone your powers, you will find yourself in places with many great departments to ensure that you survive. The Black Shores will welcome you if you have no home. Jian can certainly take you in amongst the other soldiers, and maybe even you can become an agent of a Sentinel, like Sanhua is for Jinhsi. You destroy and demolish common and elite echoes, and you can hold your own against most Overlord echoes. Not all of them, but most. Your power comes without cost, and you can freely release your resonance ability, but that doesn't make you any less prone to dying now. There are still some Calamity Cast Echoes that will absolutely massacre you. Dreamless, hell, even Crownless can instantly end you, but you don't normally fight these things in these battles alone, so you definitely stand a chance. But if you are able to completely avoid Calamity Class Echoes, and the Fractsidus doesn't tend to, you know, choose you as their next target, or you don't find yourself surrounded by thousands of tacit discords during the Dark Tide, then you actually might have a pretty good time as a 4-star Resonator. The world of Solaris 3 is dangerous, so even those gifted with the gifts of being a 4-star Resonator, they still put you at a pretty good hands of being killed 40% of the times. Unless you're really skilled or are in a really good position of power, like, you know, Sanhua. She doesn't have to go out and fight, she just basically stays behind Jinhsi and she's good to go. She only has to prove herself every now and then. So I'd say your yearly survival rate is going to be about 60%. Stay smart, vigilant, and avoiding all the Fractsidus and avoid all spatial anomalies, and you should be a-okay. Not bad as a 4-star Resonator, you can at least, you know, become strong, but what about the 5-star Resonators, eh? Now, honestly, if you're a 5-star Resonator, the world is literally yours to play with. No joke. You can casually summon whirlwinds to completely decimate all of the foes around you, or you can exude massive amounts of heat or frost in order to burn or freeze the enemies around you to a crisp, and even zip through the battlefield as a lightning bolt and stun and cut up all of the enemies to shreds. That is the power of a 5-star Resonator. The peak of power in Solaris 3. You will find yourself in a position of power in order to actually defend your country against threats, and you will be able to defend yourself from any threats, unless of course you're fighting another 5-star Resonator. Even against Calamity Class Echoes, as long as your team is with you, you can make it out of there alive, and if you're alone, you can still manage to escape or even destroy the Calamity Class Echo with a hard and brutal fight. And if your backstory is tragic enough, you may even be able to join the Fractsidus and become a well-respected but feared villain throughout all of the Solaris 3, and even chill with crazies like Scar. And my 3rd scar! I got this one while shaving my face, but my 4th scar, that's way more interesting. Sorry for the Scar impression, I had to, but the world is quite literally your oyster, but you are somewhat delegated to tasks involving combat. You just have so much power that destroying tacit discords is just something that will be your forte, get it? Unless you're even further blessed like that of Shakona, whom is able to use her forte to create memory restorations, as well as performing perfect music and the ability to clone herself to make her own band. I mean, she's gifted with 2 or 3 businesses as a 5-star Resonator, as well as a supporting Resonator for a 6-star Resonator, which guarantees your safety. Wait, you don't know what a 6-star Resonator is? Well, we'll get to that in just a second. Your survival rating as a 5-star Resonator yearly is about 80%, with only the likes of the Fractsidus, Calamity Class Echoes, and actual Calamities being capable of actually putting you in the dirt. Quite the adversary, if I do say so myself, and with more and more training, you'll get even more and more powerful. But beyond that is a path that less than 10 Resonators in the entire Solaris 3 are capable of reaching. The 6-star Resonators. Of the 45 characters in Wuthering Waves, there are only 3 whom are considered 6-star Resonators: Jinhsi, Cardathea, and Imeth. And let me tell you, being a 6-star Resonator may absolve you from all of the threats of death, but your life is definitely going to be filled with commitment and duty above all else. Firstly, Sentinel Resonators have formed a pact with their Sentinel, or Sentinel Protector like the Exostrider in Imeth's case, to obtain massive, and I mean massive, power. They often lead their country and are well respected and regarded by every single person in said country. You are protected by every powerful person around you, and you yourself are more powerful than each and every one of them. With the wave of your hands and the lent power of the Sentinel, you can bisect the world, or create nukes the size of towns, and your power puts civilians and villains into their place. You are capable of casually destroying Calamity-class Echoes, and you're even strong enough to fight beings like the Thronodian. You could have the country at your feet if you desired, but let's pretend to take a more humanitarian approach. Although, jokes aside, if it were Jinhsi's position as Cheng Li as my mentor and best friend, things would change around tremendously. Cheng Li addiction aside, sorry about that, your yearly survival rate is about 95%, unless you're Imeth. Imeth. Video regarding her coming soon as possible, by the way. People will fawn at your knees and crumble at your power, but can you really take on the responsibilities of being a Sentinel Resonator? Every time you go to the bathroom to poop or shower, that Sentinel will be staring at you, and that alone is enough to turn off most people from the power. What? You thought surviving in a post-apocalyptic world with sound monsters and monthly disasters would be easy? You probably won't be even born as a Resonator, but if you are, you hit the Forte jackpot, then you can fare pretty damn well. Well then, the final rating of Resonators from the 1 stars all the way up to the 6-star Resonators. The 1-star Resonators, well, they have a eensy-beensy 50% chance of actually being strong due to their weakness, which is kind of a crazy thing, right? As long as you're a weakling and you know your limits and you know when to get the frick out of a bad situation, then hey, you got a 50% chance of survival daily. Now a 2-star Resonator on the other hand, 20% by not knowing your limits, you have a 20% chance of living. That's what I'm actually saying, because you're going to be a cocky little runt and you're going to try to prove yourself knowing damn well that you cannot. No. If you see a giant Tacit Discord, just run. You'd have a better chance surviving, but you're not going to do that because you have a little bit of power, enough to be cocky. Now, the 3-star Resonators, you got a 50 to 80% chance of actually living, depending on, your occupation. 50% chance if you join the military side of things and actually fighting Tacit Discords or being an actual villain, and 80% if you just, sit down and do your job. Maybe you could be an ice cube maker. You could be a cook. You could be, you can make masks like this lady here, and she's still alive. No dark tide chasing her, right? And then a 4-star Resonator, that of course gives you a 60% chance of survival because you definitely do have the power to back it up, but you're still not as strong as the 5-star Resonators, and trust me, the 4 stars are much rarer than the 5 stars, so they must be dying, right? I sure hope not. But you're not as strong as the big shots, but you can still be very strong. And if you really train your actual physical abilities as well as your weapon abilities, then yeah, you can do some really good damage. Like Sanhwa's still absolutely amazing. So yep, 4-star Resonators might be a pretty good spot, but just be warned, they're kind of rarer than the 5 stars, and then the 5-star Resonators, boy, that's where the power comes in, man. They are the top tier Resonators in Wuthering Waves. They're the ones that you pull for every month, and most of them manage to live their life pretty well. Let's see, you had an 80% chance of survival due to your overwhelming power, and you're able to kill like 90% of the population with just your abilities, so stay humble. Unless you face another 5-star Resonator, you have very little potential to actually die. Or, a Calamity Echo that's like powerful enough to destroy the whole city. But finally, the 6-star Resonators with a 95% chance of survival. But that does come with the overwhelming power and responsibility and duty of being the literal president of your country. Busy, that's your life. Busy, no free time for those blessed with the power to save the world. You have to save the world. You guys think I'm accurate, or do you think that, you have a few things to actually change here? Let me know down in the comments, and which Resonator do you think you are, between a 1-star and a 6-star, or which Resonator would you rather be? This video was really fun to make, and I would love to do more like it, so drop a like and subscribe for more enigmatic content, and I'll continue to be making awesome videos like this. This has been Void, and until next time, Enigma out.